Alright friends,
Trying to figure this out.
it's day 2 of tide pooling here in Alaska. This is my friend Sawyer. We've got Joanne Moore behind us, and we're at the Cape Decision Lighthouse. And we're gonna go on a pretty rainy, wet tide pool, because, you know, that's what you do when the tide is low. You gotta go. So there's a raindrop on the screen. Let's go check out and see what we can find. Alright, we are getting closer to the tide pools. We walked through the forest. We've still got a little bit of trek to go, and that's where we're aiming for. So you can see the rain moving sideways, but it actually looks kind of calm. I think we'll find some good spots to peek around in there. So, rugged Southeast Alaska and our rugged intertidal friends. Here's just another view. The fireweed or the paintbrush. Getting a little distracted by the plants on our way down to the beach because they're so beautiful. Got that cow parsnip, the bluebells.
I have never been here this early in the season.
It's gorgeous. Again, trekking along. Okay, going over that way. All right, we are making our way down to the lower tide, and it's already getting very cool. I want to just be like, I'm in a cave of the intertidal zone, and it's amazing. There's so many beautiful things. You can see this rocky substrate is just going to be home to all sorts of cool stuff. Already seeing some of my favorite seaweeds, the sea sacks, which just looks so pretty next to that green algae, that sea lettuce. Notice that's everywhere. And we're going to keep making our way closer to those waves that maybe you can hear rumbling and rolling in the background. But it's a very cool place. So we're keeping on. Alright, we are getting to a spot where we're going to start exploring some of these sea creatures. But before we just zoom in to these rocks, I wanted to, you know, take a look at what we're looking at here. Again, it is a rainy, drizzly day here in Southeast Alaska with these intrepid explorers.
It's only a little damp
We've
out.
made our way over all of this very slippery, but also very sharp rock. That seems one of those counterintuitive things. Like, how is it slippery and sharp?
Slippery and sharp.
We don't know. Yeah, we'll rate this on the a more difficult level in the hiking guide. So we're gonna explore this little channel here, and probably more, because there's some cool stuff to find. So let's
Oh, look at that little channel.
tune out so we can make this clamber down yonder. Should be pretty neat. This is definitely the type of tide pooling where you can take an hour to go afoot, because there is just so much to look at, and so much wall to explore. So you can start from the very top, where there's only a couple of barnacles and that really hardy rockweed up there, and some other algae. And as you move down the wall into area that's going to be covered by the tide more often, you'll see that we start to get more of this brown seaweed. It's like midrib.
This is a great.
This is like baby dragon kelp. That's what we've been calling it. But that's really fun to see.
I love these sponges though.
Oh my gosh, they are gorgeous.
Yeah.
So we're saying this is the type of tide pooling where you can go about a foot an hour, because there is so much life to look at. And this sponge is just gorgeous with the sea sacks and all this red and green and brown algae. And each of these holes is going to be filtering water in.
Other holes are going to be pulling the water out.
Exactly, so we have this nice filtration system.
One big connection.
And then, what's super bizarre about sponges is you can put them through a blender, not that we advocate doing that, but all of the cells can re-aggregate into the sponge form, which is just wild. I don't know.
It is an organism, and so it has that capability, but it's one of the simplest ones in the world of organized animals, and that regeneration and re-aggregation is what helps us all understand that there's basic forms and there's more advanced forms.
Absolutely. And I'm looking here, this little piece of seaweed, I'm just going to borrow a little bit of it. I think this is the pepper kelp. Nom 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 nom. Waiting for it? No, that's not the right one. It's just salty. There's a seaweed that's flat and red, and when you nibble on it, it is so pungent in your face. That wasn't the one.
But there are sea sacks. If you look at the wall, if you look at it, you notice that certain algae is in one place and the coral and the sponges are in another, and then you can see this other stuff up here where it's more dynamic, more water's going to be churning in this area, and so that's zonation. Things like to live in a certain zone because it sets them up for success.
Yeah, and you're kind of playing the game with how long you can stay out of the water and where you can stay out of the water away from predators and where you can find food. So all of those things kind of come together.
Light,
and where you can find light. Yeah,
and then algae world.
I'm looking, here's a cute little chitin.
Yeah, I've seen a few. Like here's one of these guys.
Oh yeah,
There's
so a couple of varieties.
Bigger one, really big one.
Good eye, Sawyer. So we have the black Katy chitins. They're kind of the leathery cockroach looking chitins. Here's that big one. We call you chitin. That Sawyer pointed out. And then the limpets, these little cap shells. Chitins, of course, are a snail with 8 plates. So those 8 shells can articulate, and the big foot on the bottom can stick to the rock. And there's a nice example of a limpet and its foot. So these are gastropods. Yeah.
It's using its foot to
flip back
to a new home.
Nicely done.
So here's a little. No. It's just a limpet.
Just a limpet. But these limpets definitely, like, I like to think of Southeast Alaska as the more rugged version of the Puget Sound.
Right.
Like you just get more rugged as you get north, and you can see that in the limpets themselves, where those shells just look extra tough. They're all bulked out or something. Massive.
Gooseneck.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I gotta film that.
Okay, so the gooseneck barnacles. I can make my way into this little crevice here. Yay, zoom. We'll come back and get a close-up of these, but those are barnacles that have kind of a flexible neck that sticks to the rock. People actually eat these species, and I've heard they're tasty. I haven't yet tried them. So this is a filter feeding animal that's very similar to these barnacles that we see here on the rock, only they are just totally different.
And in the world of early science, they used to think of this thing called spontaneous generation. And scientists at the time would come down to the sea and they would see gooseneck barnacles, and then they would see geese flying and sitting on the shoreline, and they thought that the geese came from the gooseneck barnacles. And that's actually why they're called that. And for a long time, there was a true association with those two organisms. And then we decided to become better observers and pay more attention to maybe even reproduction and migration. And so science became better over time.
How about that? I love that.
It's so true. It's
Thanks gooseneck barnacles for inspiring us to be better scientists.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna pause there so we can wipe off some camera lenses and move lower to the water. So
Which is great.
keep tuning in.
If you like that one. Even if we can spread it out so we can actually see if there's any green bodies.
Finding this green seaweed that feels very much like moss. If you haven't gone out and pet moss, we highly recommend that you do that. More of this beautiful sponge. The sponge just kind of peel back the seaweed the dragon kelp. Woo! Let's see if there's more stuff.
And each of the cells are taking in.
What's that little worm?
Yeah, so that's a ribbon worm. Nope, it's polychaete. So see how it's kind of got little segments?
Yeah.
So segmented worms fall into the category of polychaetes. I couldn't tell you what species of polychaete that is, but a squiggly one.
Yeah.
Squiggly polychaete.
On a mission.
On a mission.
Oh, there's more of that green moss under here.
Yeah. But it's pretty. Oh, we'll just have to forgive the in and out clarity, but yeah, this is a really pretty specimen of that kind of mossy green. And some of those sea sacks, again limpets. This purple is a coralline algae that encrusts on the rocks. There's also a variety that's more branchy. As we go down here, you can see more. I think the sponge is really getting me right now because just all the texture and color is so cool. And then there's just so much of it. And
If that big speaker wave comes, I'm in trouble.
yeah, we're watching the waves closely. Here's
Another
some
nice kite.
more sponge. This is a purple variety, almost like blending in with the green variety. Curious if they're just, I don't know, filtering in different things, but hanging out together. Oh, here's a nice hermit crab clinging to the rock, showing off its adaptations for. This is a very vertical wall, but it's a little fuzzy. But those nice long antennas of the hermit crab, we're gonna borrow you and hand you over to Sawyer in a second.
Whoa.
See that big pincher that acts as its trap door? Then I don't know that my hermit identification is that on point, but some things we can look at are the fact that it kind of has that blue and white in the joints of its legs. Looking at the color, oh, it doesn't like the touch of my finger apparently. Sorry, hermit crab. Also kind of cool to look at the different snail species that are found in Southeast Alaska compared to the Puget Sound. This looks close to what I would call a frilled dogwinkle, but I can tell it's a little bit different just by the way it is.
Love these black kites. There's so many.
Gosh, here's Sawyer.
Very cool.
Have a crib. I'm not giving Sawyer crabs for the record.
Yeah.
Okay, here is, we're gonna make sure Joanne sees this because this is kind of stupid cute. The leather limpet, folks. And there's a couple of them in here, so there's kind of a bigger one there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you get in real close because I want you to see the eye stalks. Here's a little guy next to this other worm.
Oh my god, yes. Look at that worm.
You can see, I'm gonna zoom out for a second because we're like in this forest of wall and I don't know if my camera's focusing. Okay, there. So we're kind of getting caught by all this different seaweed in
Definitely
the frame.
likes gloves compared to hands.
Oh, Sawyer's making friends with that hermit crab. But
Crawling
here's
Nice.
a tiny little leather limpet.
Good
And
eye.
on the front, you can see its good eyes.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cute specimen right there.
Nice.
Zoom in. Yeah. So they just slug around and I'm so zoomed in that it's kind of shaky. So you can see their eye stalks on the end. This is a gastropod that is actually an air breather. So unlike most marine snails, they don't have gills. And so they actually associate with air bubbles in the intertidal zone so that they can stay alive. And there are also those little kind of like bumps along the edge of that blob. They're good at creating noxious chemicals that can deter predators from trying to eat them, because they are just a slimy little shellless, as far as I know, creature. So it's a little misleading that we call them a limpet, because limpets have that nice shell, and these ones don't. They're more of a slug. And what did you find over
This
here?
is beautiful.
Oh, do you think
Another
a
sponge.
type of sponge, or could it be a tunicate?
No, I don't
No.
see the tunicate tubing.
Weird. Oh,
That's a beautiful one.
that is cool.
All the little tiny ones.
Yeah. Amazing. And then also just like the tiny little mussel with its little fuzzy outside. Ugh. Again, this is, I wanna like the view of what's actually happening. We're just laying here in this crack and it's delightful. We're having a good time. And I need to wipe right off the camera again. So
The tide is coming in.
it is. So hot pause, let's go. Maybe you can tell, but we haven't moved at all. And we've already found more cool things in a new crack, a new hole. And we're gonna take a look at these 6-rayed stars. And okay, but before we do that, I got distracted because there's this kelp isopod. As you can see, blending it. Oh, look, it's saying hi. It's waving. Really blends in with the kelp. Also has these very, oh, there's more of them. Really impressive adaptations on their little hooked toes. So they can really hang on. I like to put these on my nose to demonstrate that. So maybe we'll hand it over. Well, Sawyer has gloves. Joanne, yeah, take your glove off and put an isopod on your nose.
Yeah.
Oh, it's protecting you. Your hands are too warm. This is where really it just is going to crawl into his nose.
I know, right? I didn't sign up for this. Ah! Can't get them off my finger.
See, those hooks, they're real. You can see another one. Riding this limpet. That's pretty cute. We'll let Sawyer get himself figured out. But yeah, oh, and you can see the color variation. So depending on what they're eating, they kind of can be different colors. So this is a more
Which
green.
is true of so many of the critters that live in this intertidal
Oh, okay.
area.
Okay. Ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
It's gonna make you cross-eyed.
I know. Ah!
This
Ah!
is what we do.
I'm not a scientist. This is really fun too.
What would you
Take a
want?
limpet.
Oh, put a limpet on your nose?
Put a limpet on your nose.
I'll put a sea-sack on my nose. This is like
Sucks right in.
intertidal bliss.
Yes, it is.
For sure.
No, we don't have our feather boa to wrap around our neck yet.
We'll find that. But here's a 6-rayed star. So I can kind of look
Oh,
and
you
see.
found it? Oh.
Yep, so there's the 6 rays and there's actually 2 of them. So peek over in this little crevice. You can see these little juveniles are tucked in. Oh, focusing. There's so much dimension on this beach. My camera can't handle the glory. Oh, and then there's another one. So like, we're just, you know,
Yeah.
tucked into this little crevice, finding all these things.
Well, and
More
that's
leather limpets. Thank you. What were you going to say to it?
no, that's the important part of when you're tide pooling is to pay attention to those little crevices. It's not always about the big spaces. The little spaces are filled with diversity as well. If you
Absolutely.
really want to go check something out, it's worth just going.
And even just like thinking about doing a sit spot. So like the fact that we've kind of picked this place and we're just taking a really close look, even though we can peek out and be like, ah, there's so much
Yeah.
other areas to look at. But you know, just taking a pause and being like, okay, we're gonna see the 6-rayed stars and even this leather, or not leather limpet, I'm stuck on those. This keyhole limpet down here. This orange sponge, this coraline algae, this green sponge, the green, red, brown seaweeds. There's even kind of some branching coraline algae here, so we talked about that earlier.
Look at this different species of barnacles.
And then,
all in
yeah, the
same
species
area.
of barnacles,
Look at this baby.
often overlooked. Oh, yeah.
This big thing.
Yeah, so we kind of have the haystack barnacles, and then what I'm guessing is like a baby giant barnacle, because the acorn barnacles don't get that big. I don't know, this is Alaska. So yeah, this is our reminder for you to go out wherever you are and pick a spot, take a seat, make some observations, have some wonders, ask some questions, and as always,
Put things on your nose.
put things on your nose and learn, have fun. that's our little tour of the tide pools here in Southeast Alaska on Kuiu Island, close to Cape Decision Lighthouse. We are going to probably keep exploring and having fun. So
I hope so.
yeah, thanks for tuning in and joining us from the wet, rainy wilds of this rugged but so beautiful place.
Yeah.